Audio 12.1.
Today's visiting expert is Dan Harrison. Dan, you've been studying the different types of memory. Can you give us just a simple rundown of the different types?
Well, I'll try. But it's a very complex area. There's a lot of debate over how memory works, and a complete understanding of how memory works is a long way off. Work is being done all the time around the world on the brain and how it processes information. I think most people know that memory is basically divided into short-term memory and long-term memory, though there are plenty of experts who disagree even with those two terms. But let's stick with them for now.
Can you define those terms?
So, short-term memory lasts for just a few seconds. And we know that with short-term memory, most people are able to remember a telephone number of, say, 6 digits, but not of 26. And that is down to the fact that short-term memory has restricted capacity.
Whereas
Long-term memory lasts forever and has no upper limit, as far as we know. But as always, the situation is much more complicated than that. For a start, long-term memory is separated into two types. These are sometimes called implicit memories and explicit memories.
Implicit and explicit.
That's right. So, implicit memories are things that you don't have to think about, like riding a bike or playing a musical instrument.
Don't some people call this muscle memory?
Yes, especially in sports. You do an action so many thousands of times that it becomes unconscious and automatic. But it's not just actions. It can be things you have no control over. An example would be the memory that comes back when we smell fresh bread or taste a chocolate cake. Another crucial point about implicit memories is that they often are nonverbal. You find it hard to describe them to somebody. By the same token, with explicit memories, you can get people to describe them. And what's more, you could give details about the situation, such as who was there, what the weather was like, and so on.
Audio 12.2.
But I think you're going to say that it's even more complex.
Absolutely. Because explicit memories are further subdivided into episodic and semantic memories. Obviously, episodic relates to episodes that happen to you. So in our experiments, we had the subjects describe their first kiss, or when they met someone famous, or when they had their car stolen. And that was obviously very easy for them.
So what's semantic memory?
That's the kind of memory for pieces of information. Like, what's the capital of China?
Beijing.
Right. Or the name of a good plumber to call when you have water coming through your kitchen ceiling. Or the name of your hairdresser when you need to get your hair cut.
Well, thanks for that, Dan. It's been unforgettable.
Audio 12.3. 1.
He complimented Andrea on the presentation she'd made at the conference.
2.
She urged us never to believe the advertisements that say that chocolate is good for your memory.
3.
He suggested the management should change the plan.
4.
He emphasised the need for older people to retain their independence.
5.
She insisted on having Japanese green tea for breakfast.
6.
He claimed he had been accepted by a top German university when he was 15.
Audio 12.4.
Imply. Implied. Implication.
Proportion. Proportionate. Disproportionate.
Substance. Substantial. Substantially.
Associate. Associated. Association.
Interpret. Interpretation. Interpretative.
Reproduce. Reproduction. Reproductive.
Fundamental. Fundamentally.
Audio 12.5. 1,
What makes learning English words so difficult is the pronunciation.
2,
Memorizing lists of words I find very unproductive.
3,
Can't be bothered with learning words myself. I just listen and then try to use them.
4,
I've been learning French for I don't know how long, but I still love learning new words.
Audio 12.6. 1,
People's names, that's what I can never remember. It can be very embarrassing when you meet them again.
2,
Always forget my own mobile number, I do. I never phone myself, you see.
3,
What I can never remember is the words to songs, but as I can't sing, that's probably a good thing.
4,
My pins. You know, the numbers you use for your credit card, phone, and so on. I'm always forgetting those. We have so many nowadays.
5,
I've forgotten my parents' birthdays, I don't know how often. I forgot my mother's last year and she didn't speak to me for a month.
Audio 12.7.
What did you think of Professor Glazanoff's talk?
For the most part, I thought it was very interesting, especially the bit about using rooms. I actually used that technique last year for my final exam.
So, how does it work exactly? In that section, I got a bit lost. He went so fast.
Well, the idea is that if you want to remember a lot of different things in order, you imagine yourself in a big house, and each room represents something you want to remember. Or it could be each item in a room represents something. So, let's take the bones of the hand. You have to remember them for a test or something. You associate, say, a vase with the first bone, then a mirror with the second bone, and so on.
So, how does that really help?
Well, when you want to recall the names, you imagine yourself in the house, and when you see the vase, it triggers your memory of the name of the bone. That's the theory anyway.
And does it work?
Up to a point, I think it does. What they don't tell you is how to remember the objects in the room. You have to keep the picture of the room in your head, and if you've got a lot of things to learn, well, it can get a bit complicated. What really interested me was the research about learning words. The stuff that seems to prove that there's not much difference between learning something by heart and repetition and using other methods.
Yes, but there was only one source he cited. What about the research on learning in chunks?
That was quite good, especially the bit about learning words in phrases. It appears that's how we remember names. If you can remember their first name, the surname is like part of a chunk, so you remember the name as a whole.
What did you think about the idea of mind maps?
It was good stuff, that. I use mind maps all the time.
Yeah, we had a lesson about them right at the start of the course. But it's good to be reminded about these things every now and again, just in case we forget about them.
Audio 12.8.
Did you read that intriguing story about the man who went swimming in the sea and then lost his memory?
No, what was that? I must have missed it. Sounds rather unlikely.
It does, doesn't it? But it was on the Guardian website. Apparently what happened was he was on holiday in Scotland with his wife and grandson. They found this beautiful beach on the Isle of Mull, I think it was, and he and his grandson decided to go swimming.
OK, this was in the summer, was it?
Yes, I reckon it must have been, but the thing is, Mull is actually quite a long way north. I mean, it looks beautiful and sunny in all the photos, but it's still pretty cold even in the summer. I guess he thought the water would be warmer than it was.
Yes, I've been caught out like that in Scotland. The sea always seems to be absolutely freezing, whatever the time of year.
So, anyway, the grandson was wearing a wetsuit.
Sounds like a sensible lad.
Yeah, but the grandfather was only wearing swimming trunks.
Because he thought the water would be warm.
That's right. In fact, it wasn't anything like as warm as he was expecting. After about 10 minutes, the grandfather comes out of the water and he can't remember where he is or what he's doing there. What made it really weird was that he could recognise his wife and his grandson, and he could do things like dry himself, but all his recent memories were gone.
That must have been seriously upsetting.
And, oh yes, something I forgot to mention. It was his short-term memory that seemed to be really badly affected. He could only remember new things for 30 seconds, so he kept repeating the same things over and over. He kept asking the same questions. Wouldn't that be utterly appalling?
I can't think of many worse things to happen out of the blue like that. So what happened next?
Well, his family were really worried, so they decided to take...
Audio 12.9. 1A.
An awful thing happened to me yesterday.
B.
I had an awful thing happen to me yesterday.
2A.
He had his house painted.
B.
He had painted his house.
3A.
I refuse to let you bring your boyfriend home.
B.
I won't have you bringing your boyfriend home.
4A.
This product is endorsed by several celebrities.
B.
This product is recommended by several celebrities.
5A.
Please have the next applicant come in.
B.
Please ask the next applicant to come in.
6A.
We got the neighbours to cut down the tree.
B.
We paid the neighbours to cut down the tree.